It's a clown world. It's like Jerry Seinfeld. Bizarre world. Nothing makes sense anymore. Women fight for years. We want equal rights. Suddenly males decide, well, I'm going to identify as a female and compete against all the women. How can that make sense? Coach Greg, and it's official. We live in a clown world. No longer does anything make sense. Common sense gone out the window. For years, women fought to have equal rights, to be treated fairly. Only in 2023, it's gone out the window. No longer do women have the right to compete against other women. They've opened it up so that females who've transitioned to males can now compete against other females. And so in powerlifting, where clearly if you're born a male, have higher testosterone levels, obviously you have an advantage to have more strength. But no, people don't believe it anymore. No one believes or trusts in the science. After all, after that demic, after that, no one can trust anyone because people, they can say anything. Oh, do this, wear that, don't travel over here. You have to do this, and if you don't, oh, you're a nightmare. You're a horrible human being. And so regardless of what the science may or may not say about if you're born male having an advantage over people who are born female, a new ruling was set in powerlifting for trans competitors. March 17, USA Powerlifting will now be forced to allow transgender athletes to compete in the women's division after losing a multi-year discrimination case. And so despite all we know of the advantages of being born male, if a male identifies as being female and his testosterone levels are below 2.4, they can compete as a woman. And in case you don't know what 2.4 is, it's 70 nanograms per deciliter on the United States scale. And so where do most women fall? Well, between 0.5 and 2.4, or 15 to 70. And so it's marked at the highest reference range for females. And in case you're wondering, Allie, my girlfriend's testosterone levels were checked and she was far below 0.5. Way below, 10 times less than you're allowed to compete as a woman. And when I went off HRT, had my blood work done, I was consistently below 2.4. Consistently. And so if I were to stop my HRT dose, 140 milligrams a week, I would literally be able to compete as a female if I chose to. And so many people are thinking, well, the women don't care. They approve of this. They're very accepting. Are you kidding me? They're scared to speak up. Rare is it that a woman wants to stand up for herself and say, I don't think it's okay that I compete against other men who are now identified as being female. And it's not because they don't want to have the gender of their choice. It's the fact that their sex, what they were biologically born with, it's not female. If you have an X and Y chromosome, you've had inherited certain genetic advantages that makes it unfair to compete against others with XX chromosomes. And so many people say, oh, I don't like Coach Gray. You're a transphobe. Am I really? I have no problem with somebody switching their name. I feel I was born in the wrong body and I want to identify as a male or female. Absolutely no problem with that. The problem is if you compete against other people who are born females, you have a clear advantage over them, making it unfair. And so the main problem is people don't know the difference between someone's sex and someone's gender. Your sex is what you were born as. The chromosomes, DNA, your genetics, what you were born as. And your gender, it's different. The traits, the characteristics that you associate with that particular sex. And so if your sex is a male and you want to wear makeup, long hair, extensions, whatever you want to do to be female, there's nothing wrong with that. You should have every right to dress as a female, speak female, identify as female. Perfect. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're competing in an athletic sport, you still have the X and Y chromosome. And over 100 years ago, we started up the Olympics. And we competed as men and we made a separate category, males and females. Why? Because the women could not compete with the men. Sure, there are genetic outliers. 1 in 100 can compete at the same level as the elite males. But overall, it wouldn't be fair. And so to make it fair, they added a separate category based on their sex. Not their gender, not what they identify as, but based on the advantages given to them at birth. And so to make it even more fair, as the years went by, we adopted certain other categories. For example, the teenage division, juniors, masters, veterans, different age categories. We also added other categories. For example, weight classes or even skill levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced. And so what does this do? It makes sports more inclusive. We want the maximum number of people competing in sports because it's healthy, it's great for your mental health. The more categories, the better. And so with more categories comes more fair play. People competing against others of equal abilities given the same genetic advantages. And so in powerlifting at the Canadian National Championships, April Hutchinson competed against a male who transitioned to female. She's spoken out against it, saying, "This is not fair. Where are my rights?" But of course, she was denied. "Sorry, we feel that that person who was born male has the sex of a male, who now identifies as a female. She should be allowed to compete against you." But why? Well, it's not fair. She identifies as a female. Okay, I get it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But her sex is still male. Her sex, not her gender. So I'm not bashing this person. I'm saying that she was born a male. Her sex is male. Her gender, clearly it's female. Those are two separate categories. We never said, hey, if you want to wear a dress and makeup, then you have to compete against other women. It doesn't work like that. It's based on your sex. And to the same extent, if a 25-year-old powerlifter, if he looks really young, doesn't have a beard, clean shaven, looks 17 years of age, should that person say, well, I look like a 17-year-old, so I should compete in the teenage division? Of course not. He's given certain genetic advantages because of his age. He's 25 that the teenagers, they don't have yet. And so despite the fact that he looks like a 17-year-old, he isn't actually 17. Doesn't change the fact that the 25-year-old has the right to dress up as a child. He can wear teenage clothes. He can wear whatever he wants. He can dress up as a man, woman, old grandma Josephine, or a baby. I don't care. Walk around with Pampers for all I care, but you can't compete against teenagers because you're 25 years old. It's a clown world. It's like Jerry Seinfeld. Bizarre world. Nothing makes sense anymore. Women fight for years. We want equal rights. Suddenly males decide, well, I'm going to identify as a female and compete against all the women. How can that make sense? And so I posted on Instagram, Walt said, let me know your comments about this. What do you guys feel about all this? As I read this in less than a day, almost 2,800 comments. That is a lot. But the problem is the females who are actually competed, the ones that are going against these males who are transitioned to females, they're scared to speak out because of the ramifications. Does that remind you of anything? Remember this, the demic? You've read all the science and you have these beliefs, but better not speak about it. Because what will happen? And why do you think I have a pan in front of me and I'm not saying the word? Why have I not mentioned that? Because if I do, probably get demonetized. It won't be allowed to post a video. Should we not be able to voice our concerns without fear of ramifications? What do I think is the simple solution? Well, what do you think? Add a different category. Call it trans division. How is that not inclusive? We recognize your right to have your sex as being male, but being able to be identified as a female. And so because you were born with these certain advantages, making you superior to most women on average, most likely you're born male, transition women, you're still going to outlift most women. Oh, but that doesn't recognize me as being a real woman. That's a separate, that's discrimination. Well, I'm 47, and if I compete in the Masters division, I don't feel discriminated against. And the fact that we have a teenage category, it's not to disrespect teenagers. We're not saying you're not worthy as a 15-year-old. We're saying, hey, when you're 25, you're probably going to get stronger. You're only 15. You have your own separate category. And so if you're watching this video and you're thinking, oh, Coach Greg is a transphobe, am I really? I want their own separate category. I respect the fact that they want to have a gender being female, but I also recognize that they were born a male. And so how is it fair that the new ruling is that people born male who identify now as female are allowed to compete against other women? How is that fair to the women? Has anyone checked in to see if they're okay with it? All the records are about to get broken in the women's division. Absolutely. It's inevitable. And the number one comment? Clown world from the Dura. Who is doing the ruling? And based on what? Give them their own class. Surely there's enough by now. And so with this ruling taking effect in powerlifting, how long before in MMA, boxing, certain events like that, where something tragic happens to a female competing against somebody with the sex of male who identifies as a woman? Is it going to take something drastic, something dramatic, something that no one can turn a blind eye to before a new ruling is set? where they actually consider what makes sense in the world, it seems the pussification of the world is taking place. Everyone is upset and hurt. Everyone's offended. Everyone thinks their rights are more important than others. And so how is it that the people born male with their sex male who identify as female take precedence over everyone else's opinion? Oh, and in case you didn't know, how does this sound for fair? Editor Steve can't travel to the United States, that's my brother, because he doesn't have those things you need to take in order to travel to the United States. And so despite all the evidence, it's as if science, it doesn't make sense anymore. Back in the day, you'd say, oh, well, science says this. Oh, now you say science says this, you're saying, yeah, science. What's science now? It's whatever you want it to be, whatever people feel it should be. And so on the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport, this is what the science says about transgender competitors. Biomedical factors related to male puberty, lung size, or bone density do not predict athletic performance. And so I'll translate this for you. Being born male doesn't predict better performance than being born female. How many of you believe that? Social factors like nutrition, training, and access to equipment have much clearer links to athletic performance, yet these factors are rarely regulated to level the playing field. And so what they're saying is, there's no real advantage to being born a male, but there's clearly an advantage to what you eat or the kind of coaches that you get, but they don't regulate that. They don't limit you to having certain coaches or allowing you to eat a special diet, but those have a big difference on how good you're going to be at a sport. If you have a really good coach showing you how to shoot a basketball, then you might shoot a basketball better. But they don't limit you from that. They don't ban you from being coached. And so imagine science using this to present the arguments that it doesn't make a difference if you're born as a male versus female. It's more so what you eat or what coach you have that makes a real difference. Biomedical and social scientific innovation should both be used when making policy. However, biomedical research is often overvalued or misinterpreted to the detriment of athletes' well-being. Oh, we should look at all these factors, but the factors, we're not thinking about them the right way. They're misrepresenting it. People are trying to fool you, like being born a male with stronger bones, being taller, with more testosterone. That's not really going to help you. In the real world, it doesn't make much of a difference. Testosterone levels do not predict athletic performance or overall athleticism. Really? So why would people take testosterone and steroids in order to improve their performance? Well, yeah, clearly it all has to do with the nutrition in their diet and the coaching. You know, how much years they practice has no difference if they're on testosterone or if they're born a male. And so that's the actual information being presented by the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport. That's the level of intellect that we have to overcome. Science says testosterone doesn't help. Being born makes no difference. Really? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think? Do you feel that transgender should have their own category? What is the solution to all this? And so one thing I'm sure we can all agree on is that GO2 Max, this is the best supplement that I have. The main ingredient, NMN, banned by the FDA as of March 13. You can't sell it on Amazon. It's been shown in double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. It's not rat, it's human studies. It showed a 50% improvement in walking test scores. You burn more calories, you burn more fat, you get in better shape. It allows you to burn more calories, more fat, be a better butter burner. And so if you're searching for a fat burner, you're trying to get in shape, trying to get lean, recover faster between sets, become more athletic, this is the number one supplement to consider. Interested in this? Code Greg, 10% off, and don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Do your own studies. I would love to see all the YouTubers out there researching NMN, making an argument. Try and prove me wrong. Try and argue that it's not the number one supplement. Try to pick a different supplement better than NMN, the main ingredient in G2 Max. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for your algorithm. Please leave me a like on this one. Please comment. Also, don't forget to watch the tube loops. Watch at least one if you could. Also, the cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet book, also my clothing line, Harder Than Last Time supplements, all that. Code Greg, 10% off. Click the link in the description. The free diet and training program is right. It's free. It's over 50 pages. First and last name, email address, all my website. Voila, you got it. And until next time, I am out.